So, I just watched the Call of Duty Modern Warfare multiplayer reveal showcasing the latest guns, game modes, kill streaks, and I have to say that I'm impressed. This feels like an updated take on classic Modern Warfare that fans have been wanting. And it also looks like it might be making a serious play for grabbing some of those Battlefield fans that may be feeling a little jaded with their own franchise. Let's jump right into the cool stuff. Weapons and weapon customization looks absolutely legit. Each gun has up to 5 modification slots and there's no more pick 10 system. So you can basically mod your weapon as you please, provided that you've actually unlocked the attachments you want. Weapon attachments will affect performance just as real-world mods would, so affecting recoil or ADS speed and stuff like that. You can also take a basic AK platform and give it a short barrel and a smaller stock to make it play more like an AKU, or even transform it basically into an AKU. Or instead give it a long barrel and a drum magazine and have it play out a bit more like an RPK. They mentioned that weapons will have around 30 attachments or even more per weapon. Also, the firing animations, recoil, and sound effects feel like COD is taking a step into the world of more realistic shooters. It's still COD at the end of the day, but with a very nice visual facelift. The guns also look really cool from a lighting and texturing aspect, with nice skins, a really cool weapon mod selection, and optics that look amazing. The rendering of optics looks extremely good in the new engine compared to previous Call of Duty games. The visual upgrade overall with the new engine is substantial but not extreme. Not pushing the graphics all the way to the extreme lighting effects may be in part due to the fact that sometimes going too realistic directly conflicts with the game's balance and visibility, as we have learned from Battlefield 5. So I would say the graphics are very good, but not necessarily mind-blowing. In fact, I was noticing that dark windows and rooms when viewed at a distance actually are brighter. This might be due to actually reducing lighting effects at a distance to improve performance, or it could be a conscious design by the game engine designers to make it harder to camp and snipe at people from dark corners across the map. It also looks like the textures have seen an overall upgrade, and the host kept mentioning photogrammetry, which is a technique for scanning real-world objects into a game engine or 3D space for maximum realism and model accuracy and, well, texturing accuracy as well. It's something that DICE fans have been enjoying since Star Wars Battlefront from 2015 and every Battlefield game since. But it's good to see COD join the ranks and staying competitive with their own engine. That being said, the engine did crash when running the 10v10 and the 20 versus 20 mode, which was really unfortunate as it cut short the time we were able to see what, in my opinion, were some of the cooler looking experiences. Hopefully that gets ironed out before launch, but it's hard to say if there are some new engine problems that might prove to be problematic in the long term. Obviously, I don't think they would have attempted to show off this mode on stream if they didn't get it running before, so hopefully it's a minor bug that's easy to fix. Let's talk about what Call of Duty Modern Warfare is doing better than before. Cross-platform play is a huge ticket here. The multiplayer reveal had people playing on PC and with console controllers, although I'm not sure if they're actually playing on consoles themselves or just PCs with console controllers plugged in, but the idea is that you will be able to play on your console or PC and against each other, and based on the competition we were watching, the console players were actually doing alright. It seemed like Legion was struggling a little bit with controller versus PC players, but TP was actually holding his own and doing quite well when using a controller. One of the most common complaints from any game platform that does not offer cross-platform play is wanting to play with your friends who might not have the same console as you, or they might play on PC and your friends play on console, or vice versa. Not being able to play with them even though you both own the game is a huge letdown, and people don't want to make a huge monetary investment. So this is a huge upgrade for the franchise, and it'll be interesting to see if other games decide to follow suit now that COD is, for the most part, leading the way. They're not the first game company to do it, but they are certainly making a big change to their franchise. Hopefully they won't have too much of a problem keeping PC hackers out of the console player space. Usually when they do cross-platform play, it works for people who are teaming up with their friends, and then I'll put them in a hybrid server. But if you're just playing on console and you're playing with other console friends, it'll most likely only match you in a console versus console game, and I think that's usually a setting in how most of these games handle cross-play. So hopefully PC hacking won't be an issue that affects the console player base if they don't want it to. When it comes to class design, it does look like the removal of the Pick 10 system is actually going to make things a lot easier to get into and mod on the fly. In-round class customization and weapon customization will allow you to adapt on the fly and equip new attachments that you have just unlocked without having to wait for the round to end. Each class will always get one lethal and one tactical grenade, so no longer will you feel like you need to sacrifice grenades for weapon control or other gadgets. Everyone can basically get a nice, well-rounded mixture of weapons and items without having to do a delicate balance of class design. I like this a lot. It feels like they've reanalyzed a system that has been used in COD for a long time and realized that it actually did have somewhat detrimental effects to the overall gameplay and experience. That actually takes a pretty mindful game designer to go back and look at systems that have become staples of the franchise and say, are these really beneficial to the franchise? And the fact that they've gone back and redesigned it to make it a better experience speaks volumes, and I'm kind of excited about that, seeing the whole Pick 10 system go away. I didn't even realize personally that it was affecting my gameplay so drastically, but when they gave the reasons for getting rid of it, I'm like, oh yeah, I was totally making kits and stuff in the last Call of Duty game that didn't have any grenades at all because I just wanted to get the maximum weapon control or something like that. Now let's talk about when this game looked most like a Battlefield competitor. The 20 versus 20 ground war mode looks like Battlefield. They briefly showed it off on a map called Ania Palace on a 5-point domination mode, which is essentially a 40-player conquest mode. This is something that was actually great in previous Battlefield games. I don't know if people remember 48-player conquest, medium-sized conquest modes from Battlefield 3, but I thought they played out incredibly well, and seeing this basically appear in Call of Duty is extremely exciting. There are kill streaks, however. Some of them do look kind of cool and appropriate though. The Apache helicopter and player-controlled Bradley tanks feel like they fit in directly with this mode. The flying in camera when you spawn in looks like it's actually been pulled directly from Battlefield. The game in many ways does look like Battlefield, and if Ground War is popular, it could be an amazing replacement for any Battlefield fan who's a little bit more infantry oriented. The rest of the game modes and map design pacing looked a little bit more in line with the traditional COD experience, though from player feedback on the floor, people playing it, they were saying that they needed to stop running around quite so much compared to previous COD games. It seems like it's a slightly slower approach to combat, which again appeals to the average Battlefield player. Call of Duty players were saying it's slower than they're used to, and I'm very interested to see what market this game really appeals to. I'd imagine that this COD is going to attract a lot more FPS fans that haven't really looked at the franchise in a while. Now, when it comes to all the different game modes and variety in Call of Duty, it does seem like the franchise is doing what it always does, which is throwing basically everything at you and seeing what sticks. There's 20 versus 20, 10 versus 10, 8v8, I think a 5v5, a 2v2, a night vision mode with no heads-up display, single elimination, bomb defusal modes. To be honest, I've said this in the past about other games, I'm not a huge fan of game bloating where they just try and cram everything in there so it's more marketable. It often means the best game modes don't get as much attention as they need to, but then again, perhaps these developers can refine each and every mode. It's just something I'm generally not a fan of. I like it when developers focus on just a few core game modes and make those as best as they possibly can be. There's also rumors that the Battle Royale or pseudo Battle Royale type mode that they're working on is going to support over 100 players, which could actually be really big news for the franchise because Battle Royales that go over 100 players are, well, honestly not very common, and the big Battle Royale that was claiming that it was going to host up to 1,000 players, well, just recently got canned. So people looking for the bigger Battle Royale experience, well, they're not going to get it with Fortnite or any of the other ones just yet. If COD can beat everybody else to the punch there, that's kind of exciting. Now, as a Battlefield player, the biggest turnoff I saw, but also was fully expecting to see, were kill streaks. Sure, those kill streaks might materialize in interesting formats like the Bradley tank or Apache helicopter, things that smart players can fight back against and not necessarily just get wiped across the floor with. But missile strikes and circling gunships are back, and in my opinion, those have been some of the worst offenders to good strategic FPS gameplay and game balance. It's often a rich gets richer type of reward system and facilitates cheap kills and death from above situations, which nobody likes to be on the receiving end of. It would be interesting if some of the more tactical kill streaks could be in place for the 20v20 modes, and then maybe reserve some of the more classic COD kill streaks for maybe some of the classic COD modes. That way you could sort of facilitate slightly different experiences between modes, but that might be overcomplicating things. I guess a Battlefield player can dream, right? Anyway, aside from the unfortunate technical problems that they had with the 20v20 mode and having to cut that short extremely early on, that looked extremely exciting to me. It looked like COD's take on a Battlefield game, and it looked good. I'm liking a lot of what I'm seeing in this game aside from the kill streaks, and I can't wait to check it out more. I think the beta is starting in September, if that's correct. You probably have to pre-order to get it. But anyway, you can imagine I'll be checking it out and talking about it on this channel once it does. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.